Okay, Shalom. All praises unto Yahweh Shemi Al Shai. Okay, double honors to the apostles of GMS. Honestly, brothers will be pushing this truth in sincerity. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick video today. And I'll let the information speak for itself, and I'll do my best to navigate it through it. But pretty much we have what we're gonna go into today is the things that are happening out there within Syria and how that could possibly mount up into a World War III. We don't know how these elites are gonna play, but we can make a calculated guess about how they gonna do whatever they're gonna do, man. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down into pretty much 6 parts. Okay, we'll start off with the Arab Spring. Okay, we'll deal with the divisions out there between the Syrian people, the Alawites and the Sunnis, and then we get into the multiple wars and the multiple fronts that are being fought as the third section. Okay, the rebel. Then the fourth section will do the rebel-backed individuals. Pretty much who is backing who. Okay, because you got a lot of people involved within that particular land mass right now. Okay, you got the Americans up in there, the Iranians up in there, the Saudi Arabians up in there. Okay, and then you also got these rebel groups in that. Okay, so it's a whole pile of mess. Okay, the whole thing stinks and reeks of manipulation by way of the elite banking families. Okay, because it's a hot mess, and when you start off at this so-called Arab Spring, because that's where this whole thing of the Middle East spews out from. Okay, but when you start from there, that's when you really see that this is just a chess game that these elite banking families have been playing. Okay, and they gave these people the bait, and all of these people done ate it up, man. Okay. Because when you read this, and I'm gonna get into it in a second. When we go into this section here on the Arab Spring, pretty much you're gonna see it's just a hot mess. Okay, there's no real reason why it happened. Okay, it was just a bunch of people out there between these in these so-called Muslim countries. Okay, all right, in these so-called Arabic world, you had a bunch of individuals and a bunch of groups. Okay, basically trying to usurp their own governments, man, which stinks a hell of a lot like Esau. Okay, it stinks a hell of a lot like Esau. It ain't like something happened all of a sudden, and then it was a chain reaction. It was just all of a sudden you had it to where people wanted to usurp over their government. Okay, they were saying they were being oppressed. Okay, they were saying they was trying to obtain a certain amount of freedom and that stinks of Esau's democracy. Okay, because when Esau set up his democracy, his so-called government structure, his governing body, the scripture talks about within the book of Daniel how that was going to be diverse. It was going to be different, okay, from any other government or any other kingdom that was placed upon the face of the earth. Okay, so without much further ado, we start off with Donald J. Trump. Okay, the last Trump, Lord's will, and this is really the premise. So this was posted on Russia Today, and this was posted today. The information about this really came out yesterday. Brother posted it within the chat, and that. He posted it within the chat. I was going back and forth with him regarding what's going on in there. That's where a lot of this information comes off of. But because Trump got involved today, I said, you know what, I gotta do a video on it because the spirits had it to where these informations regarding the mess really that Esau created out there within the Middle East. I gotta get into it. Okay, so without much further ado, let's Trump
It's really
let
an
Trump do
honor
the
to
talking.
welcome you here today. But before we begin, let me say a few words about recent events. Yesterday, a chemical attack that was so
Right, so
horrific.
pretty much yesterday, the 4th of April, okay, you had it to where you had a chemical attack, and from his rhetoric, as you're gonna see here, okay, as you're gonna see here, you're gonna see that from his rhetoric, from Trump's rhetoric, that they're saying that whole thing was as a result of Assad backed groups, okay, and that's why that's why he had to do what that's why he's saying it goes beyond the red line. Okay, so let's carry on with this.
In Syria against innocent people, including women, small children, and even beautiful little babies. Their deaths was an affront to humanity. These heinous actions by the Assad regime cannot be tolerated. The United States stands with our allies across the globe to condemn this horrific attack and all other horrific attacks for that matter.
You've condemned the chemical attacks in Syria, but you also appeared in your statement yesterday to pin some of the blame on the Obama administration. You're the president now. Do you feel like you bear responsibility for responding to the chemical attacks? And does the chemical attack cross a red line for you?
Well, I think the Obama administration had a great opportunity to solve this crisis a long time ago when he said the red line in the sand. And when he didn't cross that line after making the threat, I think that set us back a long ways, not only in Syria, but in many other parts of the world, because it was a blank threat. I think it was something that was not...
Right, so if I pause it right there, okay, we really have to think about what Trump's trying to say right here, okay? The emotion that Trump is trying to push out there, okay? So we started off with the sentiment of the babies and the beautiful small babies, like he had said, okay? And then he went into the fact that Obama was basically signing blank checks, okay? So that's the thing that he's really pushing forth out there, saying, look, my administration, we're going to have to be for action because you've seen the consequences of a no-action nigga. Right? That's why they had it to where Obama was doing what he was doing. He was doing the bidding of the elite. By having it to where you have a so-called, and I say so-called because he is a Hamite, okay, but a so-called individual of color, okay, a so-called black man in a position of power, and when you have it to where that individual really doesn't achieve anything, his results are really redundant, okay, his administration really put the American government into a worse situation than it's ever been. And then you put another individual that's a bit erratic, okay, you put that person into a position of power. Well, guess what, these people are going to be at the back of Trump when he goes out there and he says, look, I've declared a war against the Syrian people and henceforth the Russian government, because as you're going to see in this, the Russians are for the Assad regime. Okay, because they know if the Assad regime falls over, then you're gonna have a even greater influence of the American influence over there, right, really at their borders, man. Not to say that you haven't got it to where you got all kind of military garrisons set up by the American government along in Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, etc., etc. Okay, so let's carry on with this for a little while longer, and then we get into these different articles that I got prepared in the background.
One of our better days as a country. So I do feel that, Julie. I feel it very strongly. I now have responsibility, and I will have that responsibility and carry it very proudly.
Right, so he's saying now he's got the responsibility. Now he's going to carry that proudly, man. And that's why we say this is the right man for the job. Okay, this is going to be the Lord's will. This is going to be the individual that's going to take us into a World War III. Because when that World War III pops off, man, okay, you ain't gonna get up anymore. You ain't gonna get up, silly hours in the morning to go to work for this devil. Okay, you ain't gonna work hard to bring in little. Okay, you ain't gonna catch all of these demons and all of this hell, because guess what? We're gonna be in a time. We're gonna be getting into the time where the Lord is gonna manifest His blessing for the men that have been pushing this work, man. Okay, so I mean, pretty much the sentiment has been hit. You can watch the rest of that on the Russia Today. I'm not going to finish that because I got quite a few things to go into. So like I had said, I'm going to divide this into 6 different sections. All right. So this the 6 sections in question right here. We start off with the Arab Spring, because all of this goes back onto the Arab Spring. Okay. And then we're going to go into the divisions that you've got out there within Syria, okay, namely the Alawite people, and you got it to where you got Sunnis out there, which make up about 59% of the population. Then you got the multiple wars as a result of pretty much as a result of the tensions that you had spewing off of the Arab Spring, okay, and then filtering down into the country of Syria, okay, and then influencing the division that you've got out there between the dominant people, okay, the dominant ruling class, which is the Assad family, okay, or the Alawites, okay, and those actually make up the minority of the people. That tension, right, was used to what? To try and topple over the Assad regime. So you had to where people that were regular individuals were arming themselves to say, look, we ain't gonna apparently take this oppression that we're feeling. Okay, so then you got it to where the fourth section I'm gonna do is who's backing who. Okay, so namely the rebel-backed individual, who's backing the rebels, who's backing Syria. Okay, and then you really start to see, should be really able to start to see a big, really a big hot mess, but a big picture of what's really happening out there, man, and how easily one thing could, just like this, could lead and quickly lead up into a world war, man. Okay. You could quickly get all up intense, man. And what's important to note as well is who's where Iran, okay, and where Russia is positioning themselves. Because Iran and Russia, as we go into the scriptures, Iran and Russia, those are the individuals that are going to play key major parts in this world war. And when you see how these individuals place themselves, they're placing themselves on the same Assad regime that the American government is trying to topple over. Okay, so it's all very intertwined. Okay, all very interlinked. Okay, and brothers, they see the information, and they might post the chat, but they don't really understand what's, what the ins and outs and the implications of different things are. But hopefully, through the Spirit, Yahweh Shimi Al Shai, this is gonna give some, it's gonna shed some light to that. Okay. So, and after that, after the fourth section, we're gonna go into Russia bombing certain individuals, okay, or Russia bombing Syria-backed rebels, and then we're gonna go into the migrant crisis, okay. I mean, these are things that brothers have touched, brothers who are more astute in this type of geopolitical information than I am have gone into in the past. So hopefully, this is gonna be able to add on to that. Okay, hopefully I don't take away from what they've done, because man, brothers be getting into these geopolitical situations hella heavy, man, and it's been beautiful because you watch these things, and I didn't really understand it until you had certain brothers. I ain't gonna name them names or anything like that right now, but you didn't have it to where certain algorithm videos was before them videos getting put up, okay, and brothers alike, okay, you really didn't have a thing in, obviously the elders were getting into it, but now you got it to where certain individuals have taken up the mantra upon themselves to even go into it on a even they got, brothers are getting down, in other words, through the Spirit, Yahweh Shimi Al Shai. Not to take anything from the works that our predecessors are getting into, but the work speaks volumes, Okay, so let's go into this right now. So we start off this is in the Wikipedia, and this is regarding what's been termed as the Arab Spring. Okay, so it says there the Arab Spring. Okay, right, or the democracy spring, right? Arabic, etc., etc., was a revolutionary wave of both violent and non-violent demonstrations, protests, riots, and coups. Okay. Right, and you should know all of these words: riots, coups, and and civil wars within Northern Africa and the Middle East that began on on December the 17th, 2010 in Tunisia. Okay, with the Tunisian revolution. Okay, so it says the Tunisian revolution effect spread strongly to 5 other countries. Libya. Okay, what happened in Libya? You had it to where Gaddafi's regime was, and really good. You're talking about a so-called, and I believe those dates line up. Okay, off the top of my head, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you pretty much had a situation where Gaddafi was taken out, and what did they do? They sort of blamed it on if I remember it correctly, because that was that's 2010, that's 7 years ago. Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, that had a lot to do, that played into a lot to do with the Arab Spring. So they were saying, you had it to where America would back certain rebels, okay, that was quote unquote against the Gaddafi's regime. But really, what Gaddafi was doing, he was trying to liberate the people, man. He was trying to set up a currency outside of the American influence, right? The American influence of death and debt, man. Okay. So it's important that you remember that Libya is in there. Okay, so when they're talking about a revolution to where they're gonna fight off their oppressive government, they didn't have no oppressive government, man. Okay, here it is. You added to where Gaddafi's trying to liberate them people. Now I don't know too much about the Yemen and well, Egypt was doing pretty much decent, but now they had it to where they took what? They took the influence of Esau, and Esau, all he had to do was pay off certain individuals out there, man. In case pay off certain rebels, and that whole thing, that whole shitstorm started to kick off. Okay, now you got now these different countries are in the situation that they're in. They are worse off, 2, 3, 4, 5 times worse off than they was. Okay, I mean, we really benefited from the Syrian this thing out there in Syria. You got it to where millions of people are displaced out there, and you got a so-called migrant crisis out there within Europe, and they're gonna use that thing as a means of issuing out the chip. There's no doubt about that. Okay. Because these different countries out there with Europe are disbanding. Okay, with Europe having ever-growing tensions amidst themselves, they're already departing from other European countries. Really, they think that they're gonna want other people migrating into that. The whole premise of this so-called Brexit thing was that they're gonna keep certain individuals out there from which are in Europe from entering into the country. So you really think that Britain, okay, is gonna allow it to where a bunch of Syrian migrants is gonna roll up into that? They ain't gonna do that, man. Unless they have a means of being able to track their every move, okay, and that means of tracking all their moves is going to be spread out as a means of tracking everybody's moves. In that you're going to have it to where that's where you're going to be your information is going to be stored. It's going to be stored on the database, but to access that database, you're going to have that chip, okay, for you to be tracked your movements where you are, okay, and all of that information being downloaded, calculated, okay. That's all gonna be on that chip, man. Okay, and you can see that Esau is using these instruments, these different fronts. See, Esau. See, a lot of people don't really see how Esau be fighting a lot of battles on many fronts, man. Okay, he'll be fighting the same, and he'll use the same situation to fight a multitude of battles on many fronts, man. He's fighting out there he's got it to where he's got the Syria thing popping up. He can use the Syria thing to issue out the chip and start a World War III. Right, so hey, you gotta give this man credit for his craftiness, but see, he's crafty. He's gonna be taken away in his own craftiness. That's how you know the Mosai is the ultimate chess player. Okay, so it says that the Tunisian revolution effects spread strongly to 5 other countries: Libya, Egypt, Yemen, okay, Syria, and Iraq. Where either the regime was toppled, or major uprisings and social violences occurred. Okay, including civil wars and insurgents. Okay, all right, and sustained street demonstrations, etc., etc., etc. Now, what's important to take away from this? Where do you see them talking about? And I mean, I'm not going to read all of this, but ultimately, you're not really seeing. So let's go to causes. So this is what I was going to talk about. You're not really seeing a tangible cause for all of these uprisings. Okay, and that's why I said it smells a hell of a lot like Rothschild's money to me, because they're paying off these different groups that have a problem with the government. Obviously, you're gonna have people that have an opposition to the government because everybody wants power, man. Even in the kingdom of peace, you're always gonna have it to where someone wants to usurp the throne because they see the throne is something to want to have, man. It's something to want to have. Okay, so you're always gonna have someone trying to fight for the crown, man. So if you pay that guy off, okay, he's gonna be, hey, people are struggling, so he's gonna pay other guys off. They don't know what they're fighting for. Now you got it to where you got Arab uprising. Okay, so it says the world watched the events of the Arab Spring unfold by the narrative of a young generation peacefully rising up against an oppressive authoritism. Okay, I'll call it that. That's a big ass word. Okay, to secure a more democratic. Okay, and that's important because you had dictatorships. The women were in order, the children were in order. Okay, you had a forwarding of people, and Esau sold them that thing of democracy, man. Okay, and what happened? You had it to where all of them different countries are basically fucked now, man. Okay. And that's how I said it smells a hell of a lot like Rothschild's money, because this thing of democracy is Esau's thing, man. These nations have been dealing with dictatorships going back yonks. Okay, you talk about the Assyrians; they was dealing with dictatorship. You really think that individuals like Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, Shalmaneser, they was really listening to they was thinking on a thing of democratic political system. They was thinking, look, if that nigga want to come up and usurp, let him try usurp, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do, man. Okay, and so on and so forth, with all of these different people's lineages and the dynasties that they ruled in the prior times, they were on a more higher level. But see, now Esau sold them that juice as pursuant to the book of Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, the thing of democracy, that they're thinking, look, okay, all right, we gotta We're going to set it up like Esau, and we're going to be prosperous like Esau. And the country-wise, the Esau's use your own vanity to completely destroy your whole, all of your different empire, all your different countries, man. Okay, so it says here the Arab Spring is widely believed to have been instigated by dissatisfaction. this again, it smells like Rothschild money. We ain't talking about some. We ain't talking about somebody. Families are hungry and now they're toppling over their governments. No, we're talking about apparent dissatisfaction. So by what? By a democratical political system ideology. Okay, which is perpetuated by who? By America. The scriptures tell you that Babylon was going to be a golden cup within the Most High's hands, and it's going to spew out to all the different countries out there. Okay, so I'm not going to read any more of that because I've got a lot of information to go out. So we go to point number 2 right now, and this is dealing with the pretty much the makeup, okay, of the Syrian country. Okay, so here it is. Here it says here the Alawites, okay, which makes up a small proportion of the Syrian population, and then you got it to where the rest of the population, the vast majority of it, like 59% or something like that, is Sunni Muslims, I believe it is. Okay, so let's read a little bit about this, and this is important to remember because when you have a minority population in rulership, you also going to have tensions. Okay, so that tension spewed up and gave you the situation that you have right now by way of the Arab Spring. Okay, and when you had it to where this Arab Spring and came into fruition, well, the people out there within Syria, the vast majority of them, which are Sunnis, which are a different denomination of Islam, I believe. Okay, to the people that were in rulership, they saw that that was seen as an opportunity to what? To topple over the Assad regime. Okay, so it says the Alawites, also known as the Alawis, okay, are part of the branch of Islam. Alawis, Islam centered in Syria, who followed the 12-law school of Shia Islam, but with syncretic elements. Okay, the Alawites also revere Ali, okay, named Alawi, okay, means follower of Ali, okay, etc, etc, etc. So if we go down to this bit, okay, it says the establishment of the French mandate of Syria marked a turning point in the Alawi history. Right, it gave the French the power to recruit Syrian civilians, right, into their armed forces for an indefinite period, and created exclusive, right, areas of minorities, including Alawite states. Okay, the Alawite states was later dismantled, but the Alawis continued to be a significant part of the Syrian army. Right, since Hafez al-Assad took power in 1970s, okay, all right, the government has been dominated by a political elite led by Alawi, okay, the al-Assad family. Okay, during the Islamic uprising in Syria in the 1970s, okay, in 1980s, the establishment came under pressure, and even greater pressure has resulted from the Syrian civil war. But who set all of this up? It was the French that set all of that up. But that's going to be a different, to get into that and understand what was happening there, that's a different story, different topic for a different day. Okay, so that should give you a pretty much a feel, okay, of what's happening out there. So it says here, the Alawis take the name from Ali whoever, the cousin and son-in-law, right, and the first male follower of Muhammad, who is considered by Shia Muslim as the first Shia Imam, and by Sunni Muslims as the fourth, okay, etc, 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 etc. Okay, so you get a feel of what was happening out there. So now we're gonna go into the so from all of that, you can see that we got a minority in rulership, okay, pretty much set up by the French, okay. Like I said, that's a different story for a different day. Okay, they make up a minority rule, and as a result, you got tensions that brewed up when you have what was known as the Syrian civil war. Okay, so we can read about a little bit about that right here. It says during the Syrian civil war, the Alawites have suffered as a result of the support of the Assad government against the mainly Sunni opposition. Okay, with up to a third of the young Alawites men killed in the increasingly sectarian conflict. And says many Alawites fear a negative outcome to the government in the conflict would result in existential threat to their community. So you get a good feel of what's happening out there. So let's move on to the next bit now. So this is dealing with the multiple wars that's being fought on multiple fronts. Now I gotta I think it's this one. Okay, I think it's this tab I want right here. Okay, so right here we go. So it says here, who is fighting who in Syria? Okay, from Assad to ISIS to the rebels, everything you need to know. Okay, so these are the kind of sites you want to go into, and this will tell you what's popping on out there, man. Really pretty much all you have to do is punch it into Google, and Google's gonna give you the answer. Okay, so it says Washington Associated Press, one nation, two wars, 250,000 lives lost. All right, so you had 250 people, dropped over as a result of people's apparent dissatisfaction with how the government was going. But really in Syria, it was a thing of, like we just seen, it was a thing of a division in people's beliefs, okay, in this apparently the same religion. Okay, so Esau used that tension, okay, to try cause some schisms out there, and he successfully done so. Okay, and it says still no end in sight for the pitiless and seemingly bottomless crisis in Syria. It says the United States, Russia, and a collection of Middle Eastern and European countries are governing with Syria in search for a solution, etc., etc., etc. Okay, let's go to two wars. There are actually two wars going on in Syria. Okay, it says the first came the rebellion against the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, which we touched on a little bit within the article dealing with the Alawite rule. Okay, over a predominantly Sunni state. Okay, it says Assad succeeded his father as an authoritarian leader, right, in Syria in 2000. Right, he's responded peaceably to he's responded to peaceful Arab Spring protesters in 2011 with a crackdown so brutal that it sparked an armed revolt, that still rages. Okay, it says, and then came an invasion by the Islamic State, which Assad considered one of the many terrorist groups arrayed against him. Okay, it says formerly known as Al Qaeda in Iraq. Who set up Al Qaeda? Okay, who directly benefited from setting up Al Qaeda? It was the American government, man. Okay, now you got it to where you got soldiers protecting opium out there. Okay, so it says there the Islamic State is infamous for videotaped beheadings, mass murders, and systematic rape of captive women, and now inspiring or possibly directing attacks in the West. Okay, it says Syria's chaotic war opened the way for Islamic State to expand across the border in 2013. Okay, IS has seized about a third of Syria and has placed its capital in northern Syria, city of Raqqa. So pretty much, as you can see there, you got the first war, which started off by just pretty much individuals saying, look, we want to change, or really you had the Arab Spring, and then you had it to where people were out there doing peaceful protests, and apparently Assad didn't take too keenly off that, because he's got that dictator style mentality, man. Okay, which is an ancient style mentality. But see, with Esau influencing things right now with this democracy and all of that, okay, people felt like they could come and do whatever they want to do, and he came down real heavy on it. And now you have the situation that you have right now. And as a result of that skirmish, you had it to where the American created, all right, Al Qaeda offshoot, which you know as IS or ISIL or ISIS, etc., now has occupation for up to about a third of Syria's land. Okay, so who is in a Syria civil war? So it says with Assad, okay, these are the individuals that are with Assad, okay, the Syrian army and the pro-government militias, okay. So you got Russia, longtime allies of Assad. The Russians set up a base in Syria this fall that launches airstrikes and added cruise missiles fired from the sea. Okay, Russia, and this is the important bit. Russia says its campaign is meant to weaken the Islamic State and other fighters is considered as terrorists. Okay, the Western officials say most of the strikes instead have targeted Syrian rebels fighting against Assad, because as far as the Russians are concerned, they're trying to maintain their guy in office. Okay, it says Russia has also been pivotal in designing a peace plan for Syria that involves a transitional period under which Assad can stay in office. Okay, so against Assad, you got a free a Syrian army. Okay, so individuals that are just taking up guns and stuff. It says a loose coalition of dozens of moderate-leaning and armed factions in Syria. They get backing from the West, including the United States. Okay, so when you got it to where Trump is talking about tear gas and this, that, and the third, and you don't know who got you don't know who dropped what on who. Okay, as far as and they can use anybody in there within that situation to make a move, man. They could pay off one just random individual, say, look, let that leak over there. We're gonna blame it on Assad. Now we're gonna do what we gotta do. But as they're rolling into Assad, you got to wait what? They're gonna be coming up against the Russians, man. So that whole thing is a big mess. Okay, but we can see that the big players are gonna be the ones that are gonna be the big players are gonna be pretty much what's gonna be important. Okay, so I said I was gonna do a different section, but really I can combine these two sections, which is two wars and who's backing who, straight from this, and I'll expand on it in the next one, but we can pretty much use this one, this article for the vast majority of it. So it says Al Qaeda and its allies, and Al Qaeda has severed ties with its Islamic State group. Okay, its Syrian branch is powerful. Is the powerful Nusra Front, and its allies in the fight against Assad include ultra-conservative Ara al-Sham and Islamic fighters from Russian restive Chechnya region. Okay, all right. And it says, United States, while pushing for Assad's outer, the United States hasn't openly taken up arms against them. Okay, they haven't openly done that, but they've backed these different groups. And you have the situation that you have right now. Okay, so when you have it to where Trump's talking about they've crossed the line, well, guess what? You might have to retaliate, in a certain way, man. Okay, he might have to. Okay, we're gonna put ground troops on there. Okay, and with the ground troops being out there, what do you think the Russians is gonna do? Okay, they're gonna have to put ground troops to counter those ground troops. Now you got to where you got. U.S. fighting against the U.S. fighting against the Russians, which is what we want because that's what is spoken about within the scriptures. Okay, so pretty much you can read the rest of that article for yourself. It goes into a whole lot of different things. You got a lot of things going in there. I'll quickly go through a few of them. So it says Turkey versus Russia. The conflict between Turkey and Russia goes deeper than being on opposite sides of Assad's questions. Turkey wants to protect the Turkmen populations battling Assad. Russian warplanes have targeted those Turkmen fighters. Okay, Turkey shot down the Russian warplanes, right, saying the jets was flying in Turkish airspace, which ratcheted up tensions between the two nations. Okay, and we know the Turkish, I believe the Turkish has got strong ties with NATO. Okay, strong ties with NATO. Okay, so that's important. Okay, let's pick out another bit. So this we mentioned that before a little bit about it. It says Shiites versus Sunnis. Like so much in the Middle East, the Syrian war is shaped by a centuries-old conflict between Shiite Muslims and Sunni Muslims. Okay, who's who? Shiites. Assad is a Shiite, an Alawite branch, which we spoke about in the first principal article. Okay, and it says there, Iran is overwhelmingly Shiite and supports Assad's regime. Like I said, Iran's is going to be pivotal on how all of these things pop off. Whether it be for some reason America goes out there into what in Iran, okay, and does whatever they want to do out there, you're gonna have to the Syrian regime is gonna be dragged into there because the Iranians gonna be like, well, we was backing you when that thing was happening out there. Okay, but for damn sure that the Russians is gonna be within that. Okay, just says Iran is overwhelmingly Shiite and supports Assad. Okay, so it says Sunni. Right, the majority of Syria's population, including most of its fighting, the majority of Syria's population, including most of its fighting most of those fighting to overthrow Assad. Okay, so we know, like I said, we touched on that a little earlier on. Okay, so you know, that's pretty much it on this article. So we can move on to point. Is it point four? We'll call it point 4.5. Okay, because it, like I said, that article really touched it on point. You know, really touched the vast majority of what I wanted to do. So it says here where the key countries stand. Like I said, we touched on a little bit over there. Okay, but we just to, you know, bring the point home, we're gonna go into these different countries that I have out there. So you got Iran, and we seen well, we don't have to, okay, because we know about Iran. We know Iran is for the vast majority is was it Shiites, okay? They're on the side of Assad. Okay, we know the Turkish was it Sunnis, so they're gonna be on the side of America, and we know Turkey's got ties with NATO, so they're gonna be on the side of America and NATO. So it says here, Saudi Arabia, the Sunni-ruled Gulf Kingdom. Says the President Assad cannot be part of a solution to the conflict and must hand over power to the transitional administration or be removed by force. Okay, and it's important to note these words that they're using, to be removed by force. And you got it to where Saudi Arabia is saying that. Well, who is the major backing for Saudi Arabia's military infrastructure? Who's the one that gives them the military structure that they got out there? Okay, going back onto the OPEC nations. Okay, going back onto the setting up of OPEC, the petrodollar. Okay, you got to where America's the one that's funding these different countries and giving them the artillery that they got out there. And as a result, you got this whole big mess that you got out there in the Middle East in the quest for ultimate rule, or rather more to destabilize the populace of the whole earth. All right, and to reestablish a new order, which is going to be a so-called new world order. But ultimately, we know in the scriptures they ain't going to be able to do that, man. Okay, so that's that on that. You from knowing that there's Sunni rules, you pretty much know what's going to be the case with that. And we know that the United States, they're on the side of removing Assad from power. And we know Russia is on the side of Assad. So if Russia is one of Syria's President Assad's most important international backers, and the survival of the regime is critical to maintaining Russia's interests in the country. So they got vested interest within the countries. That's why Russia is going to play a pivotal part in what's going to come out as a result of that. But like I said, when you go to where Trump is talking about a red line being crossed, okay, then you can sort of feel some things on the horizon that could come out of that. I'm not saying things are going to happen as a result of that, but we can speculate, we can hope, because the scriptures do say that we're what? We're prisoners of hope. Okay, so let's finish off on these two last points. Okay, you got it to where, you know, the Russians, they'll be you know, bombing so-called so it says Russia hits US-backed Syrian rebels, and I put that in there because that's seen, as far as the United States is seeing it, they see that as a direct result of on who? They see that as a result of an attack on them. Okay, because they say Russia hits US-backed Syrian rebels as hostile groups converge within grenades range. Okay, it says Russian and Syrian jets nearly hit U.S. forces, and that's a good thing right there. All right, in northern Syria on Tuesday, when attacked oppositions held by the Syrian Democratic Forces and critical American allies in efforts to expel the Islamic State. Okay, etc., etc. You can read that again. You can read that for your own self. Okay, but you can see that that's, you know, we're a stone's throw away from a World War III, literally. Okay, you're a stone's throw away from a World War III, which would be a good title for this, but I'll title it something else more related to Trump's statement. But you can really, literally, you're a stone's throw away from a World War III, man. Okay, and let's finish off here within dealing with this migrant crisis that you got out here, and I speculate that that's going to be used. You know, that's probably going to be used as a means of issuing out the chip. Okay, you know, you ain't gonna have it to where all of these countries that are falling apart from each other because they're saying too many people are coming into their countries. All of a sudden, you're gonna allow these migrants coming off. Okay, so we're saying the first point, it says here, which countries are these migrants coming from? It says the conflict in Syria to be far the biggest driver of the migration. You got it to where what? If this is what are they saying? It isn't. Where's the key for this? Okay, so I think this must be thousands. Okay, all right. So yeah, so 400, pretty much 500,000 people right here. You can see that they're coming from, for the vast majority, they're coming from these so-called Arab Spring states. Okay, so ISIL set up this whole Arab Spring. You got it to where people, are running away from their own countries, and now they're going into them same Europeans, European countries that were, direct benefactors for the Arab Spring. Okay, and these countries are saying, no, you can't come in. Okay, so I mean, hopefully you can see, hopefully that was of edification. Hopefully you can see these things popping up, and it's coming to fruition, man. And Lord's will, it's gonna pop off real soon, and we're gonna have it to where this World War III pops off, man. So with that, I'm gonna say all praises unto Yahweh, Hashem, outside double honors to the apostles of GMS. All right, honest you brothers will be pushing this truth in sincerity. Lord's will, I'll see you on the next one. Shalom.